need any more coffee or not. Good morning, Good morning. Very good.
Spring weather finally.
Yeah, not until noon, but
Getting
then it
late, yeah.
starts.
I know. Yesterday I had the morning. Time is always finite when you're a parent. So I had about 5 hours and it's the only time this week I was gonna get to garden. So I was outside with 48 degrees with my sweatshirt, I had big socks on, and it was wonderful, but it was cold. It was a cold start. Yeah.
Did you notice anybody who might have been leaving just a minute ago?
To be up and around, right?
I'm wondering if we set these tables up a little differently, you might be able to see a little bit more on the screen.
Okay, I didn't.
You know what I mean? Instead have them like the long way.
Only down here, T-bone me.
Oh, jeez.
I was backing into a parking.
Or we could,
You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise you end up kind of all sitting
Right.
together, but if
That close.
we made it so like the table was here, you know, we see people in light of their faces.
yeah, that's a nice.
Right. All right, we'll keep our eye out. That's what it says.
Some more people.
Yeah, sure, a little more long. Sure.
I mean, I don't care.
When you
That's
speak,
not
can you
Yeah,
holler
yeah.
a
It's a
little
little
bit?
easier
Because I
to.
can hardly hear you.
That was.
Oh, excellent. I did not see that yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you hear what she just said? Did you hear what she just said?
That's better,
She
that's
said,
better.
you're the most meek, quiet, humble person I've ever met. And she said, my God Almighty, you've been,
I was,
you've been around me a lot.
now that's the
Look,
way,
she's coughing, that's how bad it is.
that's the way I want to hear you.
No, I can't talk, no.
I love
Because it's-
but it does not love me, that's all. I'm
It's
gonna say.
difficult to
Oh,
hear.
you
Yeah.
allergy?
allergies.
Oh, my sinuses are.
Maybe
pretty
I'll sit
solid.
next to you. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had actually had a sinus infection last.
He just sounds so quiet and humble sitting over here.
You gotta get it wound up a little bit, it's early.
I did, and did you hear how, you know?
I
you
was
can hear
able to
every
get
word he
all of
said.
doctor's appointments back on Friday. Is that okay with you? Coverage is no issue. It means I would leave it to just do my lunch. and-
Good morning, David.
But yeah, the other nice day, I was telling them I had a 4-hour span to garden yesterday. I knew, from about 8 to 1, I had free time. But it was freezing. But I went in, that's it. That's the only chance I was gonna get this week. So I'm outside, it's 48, 49. I'm spreading, so I'll get my sweatshirt on. It was nice.
I give him a little more time.
We have,
Okay.
they had planted a lot, but they were not outdoor.
I don't know.
But I inherited a patch of peonies.
Right.
With these days, but in this weird spot in the middle of the yard. So it's like, well, they're amazing. I love them. It's one of my favorite flowers. They always bloom. So they don't like it. And if you talk to any real gardeners, they are like,
It's tough to do it.
it's a risk.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not gonna leave them in the middle of the yard where they are.
Right.
So we tried it. So we pulled them all up last year, divided them. I followed what everybody had said to a T. But even still, they say they may not come up for a year or two, and they probably won't bloom for 4 to 5 years. That's how fussy they are. So I go out yesterday and I'm taking stock and I'm looking, and I had designed a whole new perennial bed, and they're dotted all the way down throughout it. Every single one is covered with buds.
Yeah.
They're gonna bloom on there next year.
Absolutely. It's a
Good.
very-
I'm very editing
Okay.
as well.
And this year I had
I can't help it.
So I think because they're so established, they've been there for so long, they did well, but I was like,
And I think also how much you separate them, because I did plant in clumps instead of, like sometimes people lose them when they try to divide.
I see, yeah,
So,
yeah, make them too
but-
small. Yeah, so that was very exciting.
They don't like
Have to
it, they
send
don't
this to the
like it
designer?
sometimes, because they were printing up like it.
Okay.
Is this the design?
John?
And,
Do you have a copy of the minutes and the agenda that Martina sent out?
Yeah.
An email to it? Am I
Yeah,
asking the
that
right
makes
person? I don't know
sense.
which one is
That
John.
makes sense, yeah.
I'm Rhonda.
Hello.
Hey, Rhonda,
how are you?
I'm good.
You need a copy?
Yep.
So it is, it's coming together, but it was cold. It was
Oh.
cold stuff.
Okay, so this is the thing that,
I did
Yeah,
learn
same
that I
thing.
Same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
okay.
Good morning, David.
Oops.
Missing the.
I know, get out of here.
I can do it. It's not coming up, but yeah.
PSK Studio.
There's the outfit that Richard belongs to.
Is there a
Oh.
plug I can, I trade you?
Yes.
Can I just like take any?
Certainly, any of them are fine, there's one over here, there's one where the computer is,
Okay.
probably another one to your right.
Let me
Why
just
is it
sign
going
this.
to-
Absolutely.
Why
Why
is this letter going to him?
But yeah.
It's going to take, that's the
He
town
was
council,
officially the one who requested feedback.
but it should go to all of them though. It should go to the town council.
Oh, it should go to everybody.
Everybody,
Okay,
yes.
part of the discussion, that's why. This is just a first, here's something that you can.
We're
talk
so
about.
excited about this, aren't we? We're like, we gotta get going, we gotta get going. So,
Yeah, not too much.
I said no,
Yeah.
I just caught the ones that jumped out at me.
oh, okay.
I didn't go word for word, just the ones that grabbed my attention.
So, we're all make the.
I can't help
That's
it.
what
Yeah, I always say I don't have
I
them, but I just say it's not worth it, but I'm like,
John, I guess one suggestion would be first sending it to the town council as a whole. We get all the email addresses,
All the
send it to
members.
each one individually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're more likely to read that than just send it just to.
In the packet.
So,
I will say you've got their attention. That's all. That's-
oh, I'm sure we did.
You absolutely have got their attention.
It's not in the way, right, of that?
That's a good thing. Got that.
Hey, you know, this has
Did
been
we
a
get
long time
copies of
coming.
the
You
minutes?
really-
I did,
And they just,
Okay.
I got copies of the minutes, yeah.
I guess we can call the meeting to order. It's a little after 9:30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got a quorum.
and
So it's nice.
Nancy's there, okay,
Six,
good.
yeah, Nancy's there too.
Oh, she just joined. Things change.
So no Devin.
Um,
Joanne.
And
Joanne
Joanne's
will
here.
not be here today.
Joanne will not be here today. That's right.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. Did everybody get minutes of the last meeting? Great job. That's a tough thing to do.
I love those minutes, by the way.
Oh,
I
thank you.
absolutely love it.
It was agonizing, no. Kind of worried, but thank you.
And I am glad that town manager was able to come.
Are you kidding me? That was a plus.
Did you
Oh, that was,
do that?
I was so glad to see him here.
Sarah knows I did it.
Thank you.
That was great.
That was great, yeah.
Saved me another trip to the town hall.
Well, I mean, I think that unfortunately, when they did their presentation, they didn't really present fully with the way that the town was. It was as contractors looking at it versus.
Right.
And they didn't really explain that that is just the first step, the actual design, you know, like the concrete planning is the next step that they put into the budget for this next year, so.
Yeah, well, they made that part pretty clear that this is a draft, this is,
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
right.
so I thought
I
that's
do
the
think
time you wanna
sometimes
get some input.
they probably went a little further than they normally would. With the graph.
Then you can see.
And showing
They
some,
can't see me?
normally they don't do something like that, so I was.
For there.
Yeah.
They see that.
Years ago,
So, and the next part will include community workshops and that will be.
I feel special.
Both staff and.
Well, thank you.
Okay, any,
I'm Rhonda. I'm from Juniper Hill.
Oh, will be. How do you think?
Hi, nice to meet
Oh, we
you.
should probably end it. So,
Okay.
right,
Anybody? wants to-
let's get the minutes accepted before I get distracted.
Again,
Again, still.
Errors, omissions, discussion relative to the minutes.
Move we accept.
Second,
second,
moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand or something. Aye. Okay, the minutes pass. Trouble with doing a good job, Martina, is, would you be willing to take minutes?
Continue doing what she's doing.
I make a motion, we.
Okay, we didn't receive any correspondence. And we'll go right into reports.
Hey, I think you all know that tomorrow night is the annual town meeting where the budget is put in. If you have any questions about the budget, I think most of you know that the department did pretty well in the budget this year. The budget adopted by the council has Sharon Karen's position as nutrition coordinator going up to 30 hours a week from 25. So which will really definitely help with our expanding nutrition program and help get us along with the money that's been set aside for ARPA. Once we get one where we can actually hire, moving in the direction of opening our cafe and being able to do much more with our nutrition program. And Sarah can talk somewhat to that, but we're still waiting for some of that develop, but that would be July 1st that she would start at 30 hours. The town will also, Human Services will also have a full-time position that will be here as well. That will help with our farms to families, some of our fund development programs that we have in all the different areas, including the senior center. And as well as the Helping Hands program, you know, that the community development department has been doing. It's been offering help with the meals at Juniper Hill, as well as grocery shopping and childcare. And then also as the affordable housing projects move forward, and you know, and the affordable housing trust, that person will be working with that as well. And then, so they're going to be doing some things that are kind of come out of community development and some out of human services, but it's a human service position. So that position was added, which would be very welcome here, because right now Dorothy's doing a lot of that, which pulls her away from activity for our whole department. So she's been pretty overwhelmed. I mean, she's basically doing the grocery shopping for everybody that, you know, all the ordering and all of that for the Helping Hands program, which has been pretty overwhelming. And then we also are getting a full-time, an additional full-time social worker at Youth Services, and we'll be able to begin to work with high school students, which we haven't been able to before, as well as expanding mental health service and mental health and positive youth development programs to middle school students with that. Also, the senior center, which normally receives $5,000 into its account annually. I don't know if you know that, but that's what we get for programming in our revolving account. Everything else we have to either do fund development, like fundraising, or charge fees for. We, the town council tripled that amount this year. We went through a lot of those funds during COVID because we were not charging for programming. And so instead of $5,000, $15,000. So, and along with the ARPA funding that will help in expand transportation and our nutrition program, we're in a good position this year. So just want to let you know. So again, that budget is up for a town meeting vote tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So our Farms to Family program, which serves all ages, including seniors. That program is also will be have its first distribution in June. So, and Dorothy manages that, so if, you know, if you have any interest in that, there's two parts to it. One is, getting a share or part of a share from one of our local farms is one part of it. We have some funds to help offset that cost. And then there's distributions, at least 5 or 6, and possibly more, it's looking like this year, from local farmers and people who produce. So, and again, that's open to all age groups. So she is taking applications for that if you're interested as well. And I think that's what I have, unless you have any questions for me. The other thing I need to tell you, because they announced it the other night at the budget meeting, just because I'm a true believer in succession planning, I wanted to give them as much notice as possible, but I'll be retiring at the end of December. So I did want you guys to know that.
How dare you?
How dare you?
My husband's retiring too, so.
Oh.
make
How
that
come
decision.
we don't
Well,
care
let him
about him?
retire. But then he can retire.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
What?
Well, that's why I
Okay,
gave
what
them as
did we
much
do?
plan-
What did we do wrong?
I gave them as much time as possible. To
What
do
did we
the
do
So
wrong?
you're talking about December 2023.
No.
24?
Thanks.
Oh,
So,
Well, we're really sorry to see
I
you
know,
go.
and
Really.
it was,
December.
and
Oh,
Sarah
December.
knows I've been
I thought I
struggling
heard
with this probably for the last year and a half, you know what the time is.
It's not an easy decision.
You know, that's a
Really
good
not.
time to retire though. You know, it actually, just to say, COVID kind of threw our travel plans and stuff. Fortunately, we traveled, quite a bit of travel before, but we want to have time. And then my daughter's getting married this summer too. So we definitely want to have that time period before grandkids start coming too. So we're, you know, I think it's good timing. And it's a good transition time. It would be an exciting time for someone really good to come in as well with building projects and you know, the different things happening, exciting things happening in the department. It's a good.
So
And
what
there's a very
was,
seasoned staff here now too, which will help that. So,
well, I will say that you have been an asset.
thank you.
It's-
So what you're saying by exciting, you're meaning you're dumping all this on their lap.
I mean, I had that building designed before. And opening a new building. Staff expansion, and transportation expansion.
So have you thought about being a consultant on the side, you know? coming back
I have
in?
actually gotten offers in the past to consult, particularly in the area of building.
But I'm talking about here, you know, the state, you know, you retire from the state and then they bring you back, you can come back for so many hours. You know.
I don't think Mansfield
Well,
does
I'm
it.
very,
I know.
they do actually.
Oh,
Sherry,
okay.
Sherry,
Who do we
Cricket
talk to?
is still around.
So who do
She's
we
actually
talk to?
tranning some-
Who do we talk to?
Well, maybe they'll find an incredibly seasoned, it is a good job, maybe they'll find an incredibly seasoned person. You know, I came from another town and made that choice.
Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I have made a numerous suggestion and I, you know, I mean, I'm only suggesting this will obviously be up to the town manager, the town council, how they go forward, but I, you know, again, I think it's a good time for the department, and it can be more gradual because they're getting lots of notice, so they have
Yeah.
good time to think. And I, you know, suggested that they recruit in September because, and have it open for a while because people do not look during the summer and they do not work during the holidays and winter. So if you really want to have someone on board, you're gonna have to start advertising in September and leave it out there for a while. So it will be great if they can find someone that's done other town work, because it is its own animal, as you all know. You know, it's a different kind of work. So, but anyway, so yes, yeah. And I think some of you know as well that Linda Painter got a new job in North Carolina, so she's leaving at the end of May.
No, here's another loss.
It's a big one.
That's a huge
Big,
loss.
big loss for us.
Her position, I will be honest, will be harder to replace than mine.
Yes, yes.
So
She was
she's
a
amazing with
very
what she
good
does.
advocate for us, very good advocate.
Well, yeah, I mean, an incredible grant writer,
Yes.
I mean, incredible. So that's gonna be a challenge. And that's coming up next, so they have that recruitment's already out there. So,
Questions for Pat, David, or Nancy?
I was just gonna say, congratulations to you, but it is gonna be a huge loss. You've been wonderful, really. I've been in this job for 30 years and been working with the Human Services Department for all that time, actually. And you've been wonderful. You've been a real asset, but that does not mean you shouldn't go on, you know, and everything. So thank you for all you've done.
thank you. And I'm sure you guys will be an important part of making those decisions online as well, so, as well as other advocates in our department, commissions and committees, so.
Okay, Sarah, do you have any good news?
Sarah, don't you dare telling us you're retiring.
I'm not going anywhere. I know, and it is hard. We are so happy for Pat. This is such a great time in her life. So we are so happy to see her be able to take that step. But yes, it will be a loss. She has taught us a ton in the time that she's been here. We know where to find her. I keep saying.
Yeah, we know where you live.
You know, when that building stuff starts, to be able to kind of tap into that, I have no doubt we'll have her advice, if we need it, we reach out to her. So I feel good about that. She's put us in a really good position. I've never felt this confident going into a budget year. To have Sharon's position and the 2 new assistants coming on board, to have that extra money added into our budget, like, what a way to end. And we are stepping off on a really strong foot onto the next year. So we're very excited about that. Back to current, May is a super fun month and very, very full. We keep hearing from people, it feels like the old days, which not really, but it feels almost back to normal in terms of the activity, the participation, the things going on. We have just about every single group back now. It has taken this much time for that to happen, but we added a couple more this past month. To my knowledge, there are only 2 that have not come back. One is Duplicate Bridge, because I think they have a spot that works better for them out in Columbia, and the other is quilting. Quilting.
Oh, okay.
Yes, which I think was more the instructor's sort of personal choice. So we keep reaching out and seeing if they're ready or if they'd like to. But that should give you a good indication. We are kind of running on all full cylinders right now. If you haven't looked at May's newsletter, I encourage you to. We are continuing to do all of our Fresh Fridays as both drive-throughs and dine-in. So we give people the option. We're working out the kinks, but it's going very smoothly. So Friday, we had a lovely Mother's Day brunch. We had probably 30 people inside and probably 15 to 18 choose takeout. For the end of the month, we're doing a Memorial Day barbecue. That'll be on the 27th. In June, we're gonna try something we've never done before. We will be doing a Father's Day pancake breakfast. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll end the month in June with the July 4th cookout as well. Programmatically, we have a lot coming up the next couple months. We're doing a Twilight Zone mini marathon for all you Twilight lovers. We have a drumming program coming in next week. We've got a program from the Yukon Extension program, Grown Connected is coming in to talk about local agriculture. So that'll be cool. Our Sparkettes are coming in to perform. And then we're gonna end the month with Cheryl Fay. Anybody who's seen her perform yet? She is wonderful. She is a one-woman show, and she takes on the persona 100% of historical women in history. So in June, or at the end of this month in May, she'll be doing Anne Frank. So proves to be probably a very intense, but very touching and timely performance. Couple other things, we've been trying to revitalize our fitness program. So we have a new Tai Chi class with an instructor. We have a new kickboxing class, and we're doing a new gentle meditation and movement yoga class. So definitely check those out. Another new thing we added this month with the initiative on transportation and improving services or increasing services. We have not been given the clearance to hire the new assistant yet. But what we did decide to do with Dave's hours is start weekly shopping and errand runs. So where those used to be every other Thursday or Tuesday, they're now every week on Tuesdays. Folks can go to the grocery store, the post office, the pharmacy, Local errands, shopping. Dave is wonderful. He helps with bags. So that's been a neat increased service. We're kind of curious to see what the utilization of that is. Other than that, I will say, we have seen an uptick in cases. Probably the last couple, and not a ton, but where we went weeks without hearing from anybody that we're super connected to. Probably over the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 volunteers and 1 person we serve that have called us to let us know that they were positive. So we want people to be aware of that. We're continuing to publicize that we still have test kits and masks for any Mansfield resident. Just come on in, give us a call. Those are available. And if folks have questions or need information or need transportation, they should also seek us out. All right, we're gonna keep monitoring that. I don't anticipate we're going to make changes programmatically, but we want everybody to be aware and we want everybody to make the choices, like wearing a mask or not, that make the most sense for them. All right, so I think that's all I got. Any questions for me?
What about trips? There's trips that
Yeah.
uptick on that as well.
Well, not exactly, because we're waiting to hire the new person. So because we increased the shopping trips to once a week, that's 1 trip a week for Dave. And then we have a 2nd trip per week for Dave. That plus the medical appointments basically gets to his 19 hours. So once we get that new person on board, we'll be able to ramp up those trips again. But we do have about 4 good ones throughout the month, really good ones, actually. So we're excited at the prospect of being able to do more than that. What's neat is that we've increased our capacity by 1/3. We get to fit 4 more people on the van, so we're able to take more people on board, which is good. Anybody been on the new van? It's nice. It's nice. It's nice.
Anything new is nice.
Yeah, actually, so what I would say is the other van was purchased through a grant. The difference between when you purchase one through a grant and when you purchase it through the donations and the town funds is you can actually order exactly what you want. So this van, not only is it newer, but it's catered to our needs and our input, including the HEPA filter that it's got on it, so for, for air quality and, safety. So I will say that I'm, thankful to both the town for doing that, as well as the Senior Center Association that funded part of it, so that we were able to buy what we need and not have some of the restrictions you have on a van when you get one through a grant. And not have to do all the incredible things that you also have to do. So really thanks to both the community and the association for making that possible. So.
The last thing I was gonna mention, outside groups have started coming back. So I wouldn't say we're up to our regular schedule, but there are some town groups that we've been, letting come in to use the building after hours. So that is in process too, but also made me think about our conversation on the new building and other community assets. And having a community meeting space like that is something we should make sure we include in all of our points. I think people are really, really happy to be back here. I think they really appreciate the layout of the space, being able to make coffee, it's a different type space than the town hall or the library. So there's a real benefit to that, but it's nice to have it back.
And our new custodian is fantastic.
Yes, actually, I'm not sure folks know that. Mark has transitioned into a more daytime position with facilities. He has not retired, but he doesn't want to work nights anymore. Makes sense. We got a great guy, Gene, who is coming in, same hours, same responsibilities and everything. You probably won't see him much, but he comes in around 4 most days and he's been doing a great job. So we're happy to have him on board.
And we're back up to the amount of hours we had beforehand for custodial services, which we were not during the pandemic, just so you know. So that was something that Sarah and I were really pushed for, and I was very pleased that that's what happened, and having the same person. We also have some hours during the day for some resets and that, but he's here 30 hours a week. I'm not sure. It's 4 to 9, 5, so it's 25.
That sounds right.
That's how it would work out. Right, and again, that can change if we get more EV usage. They could get some more hours as well. So we're pleased with that too, because that was a challenge for us in that transition as we were building up. We weren't quite to where we were before, and they were trying to make the best use of their custodial time. So I'm happy with that. And he's really nice.
Okay, any other questions for Pat and Sarah? Will, anything from WRTD?
They got a meeting coming up a week from Friday, so if anybody wants to know anything, just, let you know.
What is that date, a week from Friday?
I have no idea.
I do use my daughter's showers the day after. So it's the 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
The only reason I know it.
If we have an issue at Juniper Hill, isn't our monitor still not working?
The monitor is still not working, and I had needed to see about using WRTD, and I'll tell you, their website is
You
useless.
what?
Tell him.
The
Oh,
website is useless. I mean, it shows a route, but there's no times or, I don't know, I just couldn't make heads or tails out of it.
And I thought our residential service coordinators were trying to get someone to come up. I don't.
Yes, let's see, Ron of the residents, asked about transportation issues, like getting to doctor's appointments, shopping, and Mary mentioned that she is working with you. Mary from Juniper?
Mary Tardo was.
Yeah, I, like I said, I haven't received any,
Anything from-
complaints. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't received anything.
Okay, well, I guess our monitors aren't working, and I found it very hard to use the website to find out pickup times and
I
where,
mean, the bus route monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not working.
They want you to use this, oh, I forgot the name of the app.
a lot of people up there aren't app savvy though, so they need.
That's
Which
what,
is why
that's,
they,
that's
which is
what
why
I'm,
they originally put that
that's
They
what I'm,
monitor up there. That was
yeah,
the
well, that's what I'm
purpose.
trying to tell them, but they're all for this,
New technology.
yeah.
That's because they're
yeah,
doing
that's-
UConn, but they need to realize that there's seniors up there who don't even have computers.
Exactly. yeah.
Okay,
Well, it also will, that monitor will tell you if it's in a central place close to where you're waiting for the bus.
Exactly.
If the bus is running late or whatever, unless you have a smartphone, which,
And a lot of people
I can
don't.
be honest with you, these people are HUD qualified, that means they're qualified for Section 8 housing. So a cell phone, a smartphone with the type of plan you're talking about is not cheap. So, for those two reasons, and they're the ones that this was their great idea to have that monitor up there.
A lot of seniors
Okay.
still have flip phones.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so tomorrow, I'll send them an email when I get home.
And I couldn't see
How
any
about-
clarity between dial-a-ride and WRTD buses. It's like all one big blur.
It is.
So I don't understand who I should be calling or
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get to work.
Okay, where is work? Is work on a,
BJ Plaza.
is work on a bus line?
It looks like it is,
It is.
BJ's.
but I
Yeah.
would
We
pick
have
it
to
up
transfer.
here and I have to transfer.
Transfer it.
But I
east of
don't
Wall.
see any times or if it works with my schedule or.
Well, they have a pamphlet that shows you all the.
So there's also a
All the-
program,
all
what's
the-
it called, Travel Navigators, Sarah, where they'll actually work with you, they're regional. And it's the overall transportation, Connecticut Transit program that does it, I think it's DOT. And they will actually work with you on that, like you can call their number.
Did you try calling up there? and
No,
talking
not
to
yet, because
somebody?
I just started doing research on this.
Okay, I would suggest that you
Yeah, and they'll
try to
work
get
with
a hold of
someone.
bus schedule.
with-
I
try to
think,
figure out how to-
Martina,
that will work.
do you have bus schedules up
Mary
there?
had a bunch of them.
But she said she didn't have them.
Oh.
I asked her for some guidance on this and she said, call them.
Okay, so we need.
Yeah. And I didn't see any, I saw, you can see the map, but there's no times listed on that.
Right.
Well, see, the
can't-
times
I
would be,
would strongly recommend you go through that
Kennedy
navigator.
Center.
The
What
Kennedy
is it called
Center-
again?
The Kennedy Center Navigator Program.
One more time?
Do you have that contact there?
It doesn't list it online. They work with the Kennedy Center to provide free travel training.
Right, and they
So
will
if you
actually
would
work with your.
call the main number and say, I'm having some trouble finding my route and the times, is there someone who can help me? They may be able to right there, but then you could also pursue it and do
I did see that name, Kennedy, would you say Travel Center?
Kennedy Center.
Navigation.
Center, I saw that online.
Is
But I would
this,
call the main WRTD number and ask them to direct you. I'm not seeing a direct contact on their website. You're right.
no, they haven't, they don't. I would just call up there and ask them, I mean,
Yeah.
And,
But if you have some issues, particularly if you got transfers and stuff, these navigators are great, because they'll actually even just work with you on the phone. And
Okay.
tell you, and do research for you even, about the best way to get, even if you're going to like the airport, like, you know what I mean? You know, how sometimes you're like, I don't know how I could possibly take transportation. They will help you with that.
Okay.
It's a different program, but it's paid for through the overall DOT, Department of Transportation. And, yeah, I went to a training on that. It was
Well,
very good.
where can I get pamphlets? Should I go down to WRT?
yeah, just go down there and get on there and tell them that you want a handful of pamphlets, yeah,
I'll do that.
route schedules, yeah.
now the navigator contacts in the at your fingertips brochure? And should they be?
It should
They
be-
really should
they
be,
should be
because
in
it's a great, tool. And that's totally what that's their whole job, to help people figure out how they can use transportation to get from one location to another. And especially if you want it for work, you want to be able to figure out a way to, and they'll actually work with you with the transit districts or the gas companies or whatever it is you're choosing to use, but. Okay,
Thank you.
that's what we do. And then the good thing about that is when problems come up, they actually get involved and trying to solve those problems.
Right,
Outside
and see
advocacy
firsthand.
groups.
Okay, Will, while you have the floor.
Anything else? No? Okay, well, we could just.
I have a
straighten out.
start, so.
We could just straighten out. I mean, it's a nice bus ride up there. I think you only have to change once, and that's at East
Eastbrook,
Mall.
right.
Yeah, and the other one will bring you right there. But like you said, all you need is a time schedule,
Mhm.
and you should be able to find that right on the website. You should be there. Everything should be there. But call them up, ask them for guidance. Tell them I'm at my computer, tell me how to go about doing it. That's
Okay,
all.
will do,
Yeah.
thank you.
Are you guys still having problems with the bus just going by and not waiting for people to come out?
I haven't heard any
If-
complaints
if-
about that.
Yeah, people aren't
Well,
standing
with-
outside.
With the monitor down, that would impact that.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, but they're pushing, they're pushing, I forgot what's the name of
It won't work for seniors.
it. I know,
They need to
I
know
know, they
that.
don't,
But they
Martina,
get,
they
don't they
don't
get a
understand.
grant to
they don't
Yes, they get money
understand,
from the town.
they don't understand,
never have them?
They're too young, they don't speak senior.
they don't, no, they just don't understand that. I mean, everything is all,
What's about numbers?
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about
And-
numbers.
And they get money from Yukon now to do their transportation program, and Yukon's saving money by having them do their transportation. So that's what's
All
about.
right, I'll send them an email when I get home, about the monitor, get somebody down.
I know I'm only saying this because Will missed the last meeting of the Human Services Advisory.
Yeah, we're on
Meeting.
vacation.
Right, so they're now going to be presenting to the town council some possible revisions to the agency grant program. And they're also going to be working, the council, I think, is sending the $350,000 from ARPA agency grants to that group as well. So
To the
no, Wills represents the Commission on Aging and the seniors in town on the Human Service Advisory, who do the regular annual agency grants. But now that they are also going to be making recommendations to the council about both the process and then reviewing the grants and making recommendations for the ARPA grants. The town set aside $350,000 for grants to area agencies who serve Mansfield residents. So that's a project.
Got a meeting going or?
Well, the next meeting, I think they're going to be, but there's like a subcommittee that's been working on, looking at the application process and that, so. But just so you know that that's around the corner as well, so. So they'll talk some more at the next meeting, which is in June, the end of June, so.
Now, can I ask what is ARPA?
American Recovery Program.
Okay.
It's particularly difficult because of ARP.
That's what I thought, and I'm going
When
through
they
the
first reached
letters.
out, I'm like, why did they choose the letters that way?
Can you repeat that again, one more time?
American Recovery Program.
Thank you.
Following COVID, just about every town through the state received a significant portion of money to
Right.
support
I knew that.
towns in doing this, and that's what that refers to. The money,
Okay.
about $7 million that comes to Mansfield, that they are now figuring out how they want to prioritize.
And they did something which was part of the act, but most towns did not do, which was set aside some funds for area agencies, regional area agencies that serve the town. Because there are a lot of services that are provided for the town regionally. They're trying to support some of those agencies that have done that. So that's their next project that they'll be working on. So the timing is good because they were already looking at the agency grant process. So. And by the way, agencies got higher numbers of grants the amounts this year were higher in this budget proposal as well, so. So that's the Human Service Advisory. I'm not sure everybody knows that Will represents this group, WRTD. And aren't you the affordable housing, aren't you going on that too? Well, so,
Yeah, I didn't want to, but.
yeah, there you go. So if you want to know who represents,
They're gonna say
on
no.
all these other
Yeah, right.
committees, it's Will.
Yes, I think I want that announced in the, our next agenda for Juniper Hill Village. It will, affordable housing committee. Because some people have some concerns.
Okay.
They can call Will.
Okay.
Got a target on your back, Will.
I don't know why I keep.
Okay, well, we have you up by Hills and
Yeah, well, we're slowly coming to the end of the construction phase. So, I don't know what's gonna happen after that, but. That's about it. I'm about getting somebody. Involved quite as much as I used to be, so.
okay,
Yeah, they're winding down the construction.
Glen Ridge.
Well, they haven't started in-person meetings and I think I either sent you an email or talked to Will, I can't remember. So I sent an email to Eric Goldberg, who is one of the, on your commission, there, Ron Blank. And
The
the
board,
board, thank you, and he presented it at a meeting. So we're still trying to get someone.
Juniper Hill.
That's me. Mary has become she's not temporary anymore, she's permanent now. And I will be the secondary
Okay.
fill in.
Yeah.
And then
'Cause all I'm
Ron
gonna do is-
from the residents
Okay.
meeting
If anybody wants it.
was able to meet with the EHM group.
Well, go ahead.
Rhonda was presenting. Presenting.
I'm sorry.
Were you done? I didn't mean to cut in front of you.
I'm always.
I don't want to start. No, so anyways, yeah, so Ron met with the EHM group, the board of directors over where we live up there on the hill there. And that's good because it's kind of like opening up a line of communication for things that are happening there that they might not be aware of. And so hopefully that they'll continue to like let us voice our opinions, our concerns, and deal with issues, and hopefully we have a good relationship. And David Palmer reached out to our program director, to Eileen, to see about getting UConn for future activities and events to come up there and entertain us. And let me see, what else? We already discussed about WRTD, and Mary encouraged everybody to read the Senior Sparks. I like reading it too.
Yep.
But you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Martina, that I might have? Okay, I'm done, thank you.
Anyone from Rights Way? Do we have any progress there? Okay. The only item I have under old business is we had a great discussion last Monday, but we left it at the point of discussion with no forward movement. So the question is, do you want to do anything?
About what?
Okay.
Like what?
No, this letter.
Oh, isn't that why we have a letter
Is
here?
this what a letter is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for starting the letter. So, probably tell Rhonda what happened on Monday.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
please.
Sorry. On Monday, but we'll go back to the April meeting. Found out that there was going to be a presentation to the town council that evening about a facilities report. And so many of us, either directly or online, listened to that report.
Mhm.
And it gave several of the older town buildings and what the company, whatever it is, suggests the town do. Whether they raise a building or fix it or repurpose it, etc. And one of those buildings was the senior center.
This one,
Yes.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, what other one is there, right?
And so last Monday, we had a meeting to discuss our reaction to that report, since they invited feedback.
Mhm.
And we were very fortunate, in part due to Pat, to have the town manager attend. And so the Commission on Aging, Pat, Sarah, and the town manager all discussed a little bit about what we saw as the senior center moving forward.
Mhm.
They had suggested, can I borrow that? That three possible things were, this is the town hall lot. The town hall is around here now.
Yep, and that's where the community center is?
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
community center. So three things that could be done is the senior center could be incorporated into a new multi-story town hall. It could be attached to the senior center, or it could do a standalone somewhere on that lot.
And then what would happen to here?
That's in the planning,
That's
Discussion.
down.
that's in discussion.
We're happy with it.
All right.
And they also talked about the other buildings that will be vacated as well, you know, and So there was some discussion about that, the two schools. Not only if this was moved and what would happen to this parcel, but also as the new elementary school. So, and so there was input that you guys were able to give to the town manager regarding what you would like to see regarding those parcels as well.
Is there going to be discussion about where, if this is not viable, and they decide to move the senior center? Have you thought about where the swing building would be? So we're not that far.
Well, the swing build, I mean, for the first time in forever, the town will now have two vacant buildings that they can use as swing space for the period of time or other buildings. So, you know, the town hall has to be relocated, while town hall renovations, the senior center has to be relocated. It's what they've done in other towns too. When Groton redid their center, they were in the school for a year. When I was in Glastonbury before that opened, the middle school that was attached to town hall was available. So most of our programs were moved in there, you know, the lunch program and all that, and that vacated school until the new buildings open. So for the first time, the town has some options of space that will be available to be swing space for a period of time while other buildings, you know, because that was always a big thing here. If they, you know, if they demolished this building and built on another part of the site, which was part of one of the discussions they had here, because this is like the worst location on the site to have it, because we're right in the water pit, is what I call. So it would be better off to be higher up. But then where do you put your programming for that period of time while that happens? So, you know, those are the kinds of things that the town has some opportunities that they did not have in the past, as far as swing space is concerned. And then the ultimately what will happen to those parcels as well, both those buildings and the parcels of land. The two schools that will no longer be in use when the new elementary school is opened. So that's what you're talking about, swing space,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
If there's a building, they do have the two schools to consider now for any building projects as swing space.
And I think in John's letter, you mentioned the swing space and what it be renovated for the senior center to move into.
Didn't mention it that much in the report, I think, because they've mentally dismissed this site as not a real viable option.
Right.
But still to add to
And
that.
that's, you know, the best thing about this site is its location.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's about the only best thing about this site. You know, you know, it's landlocked, there's limited outside area, which we make the most of. You can't expand parking, parking's an issue for here. You know, you've got the topography of an incline, which is problematic. And, yeah, and again, with the new housing that's going to go across the street here, you know, there'll be, I'm sure, more traffic and parking problems that will come with that as well, particularly since I think they're only accommodating like one parking space per household or something. So, you know, and this is a public lot here, just so you know, so you can't limit the parks here. So, you know, so we always knew that once that came in, I mean, it's a great project. I'm not saying that, but that could impact our parking here as well. Definitely our traffic.
Okay, remembering that this is a phase one overview sort of thing. What points do we want to emphasize, challenge in terms of the report from Richard and his group?
It sounds to me your biggest thing is you want to make sure you're involved, heavily involved in whatever the decisions are. You know, that the town, you have done a lot of research in the past. You know, you guys talked a bit about doing some trips, which we did, but did it a long time ago. And there's a lot of new members here that might want to see, and there've been some new centers that have been developed as well. So, you know, we could certainly work with you about doing some field trips for commission members and put it, you know, in my last place, we actually invited council members if they were interested in going and seeing as well as the town manager. Now, again, that may or may not be something people are interested in, but it is pretty cool just to see other centers. I mean, it's like a hobby of mine. I go on vacation and I see, plus I do accreditation, so I've been at centers all over the country, which is really neat, you know, and you always learn something from them, but you're gonna be the experts. You're gonna be the experts. You're gonna be helping the architects, you know what I mean, that plan the building. And you're gonna be the ones who know, oh, well, you just need to make sure that the lighting is this, or that you don't forget storage, or you have enough parking, or you know what I mean? You know, sound is an issue, or make sure the space is flexible enough that it can be used. Because, you know, look how many different things here we've changed around. Originally, they work this way, but then they don't, because things change. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that they'll be relying on the commission to take the lead on. And if you don't, somebody with really good intentions will make those decisions for you. I guess that's the best way to put it. So educating yourself on what's available out there. You know, looking at some renovated schools and how that worked out, as well as some, you know, buildings that have been built from the ground up, you know, similar communities or not so similar community, you know what I mean? So I think we saw, what, about 5 centers?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, because we did Enfield, Wallingford, Duxbury, Plainville.
Yeah.
There was one more.
Did
I
you
will
go
come
down
to.
to Groton?
We had a
And
ball.
Groton.
Groton.
We had a ball.
It was, I would recommend it. I
Yeah.
think we did it a long time ago, but I think there were so many things that came out of that, for all of us. It kind of showed us what we could ask for. You know what I mean? When this is your reality, you don't know what else you can have. So I think getting out of this building and seeing buildings, like Pat said, some that were actually designed with that intent, but then also Berlin, we have been up to, and Berlin is in a school.
Right.
And they've done a good job with it. So I think it would be totally worth our while if you guys would like to, and it is a lot of fun. As we go out to lunch. But I think we had a lot that came out of that. It really helped us firm up things that we felt were priorities that would be a good fit for here. But all that stuff needs to be revisited now,
Right.
for sure. One of the questions for me, and again, we are very early in the conversations. How do you feel about a fitness center?
Right.
If they're talking about a building that is connected to the community center, would you be comfortable having senior access or senior time within the community center? Or would you feel that you wanted to have a fitness center within your center that was more designed for that? Those are gonna be some of the things you wanna start thinking about. Somebody last week approached me and said, I don't like the idea of it having an early childhood center with the senior center. Those are some of the conversations and some of the thoughts you wanna start thinking about.
And this is what I would, because like I said, I've seen a lot of centers, all different models. I say it takes good planning, good scheduling, and good forethought and cooperation, and you can make any model work. You can make the one with a childcare center actually work. Because I've seen it, and we did some programs with that in Glastonbury. You can do it with an adult day healthcare center attached. You can do it with a fitness center. You can do it with a library attached. Like, there's all different models out there. It just takes thoughtful planning and design and flexibility, space. I mean, flexibility, so things can change into multiple things, both with the furnishing and the space are probably key. And again, siding, sound, the 3 mistakes, most of the biggest mistakes people make: sound, lighting, you know, and acoustics and storage. So those are the 3 things that, you know, you go to a center and say, well, we have this beautiful skylight, but we have no way to make the room dark, and our carpet gets faded. You know what I mean? Like, so when you talk to the centers, they'll tell you, this is what we thought was gonna happen, and this is what happened when we opened, or this worked for the first 5 years, but then it didn't work anymore. So, and you can't get that any other way than going and talking to people who've done it. And they'll also tell you what things you should consider to actually make sure a referendum passes. You know, if you camp into certain things, a lot of times it creates, you know, like, for example, if only one party, political party supports it, and it becomes an election issue. Or, you know, if they pitch you against another generation or another project, you know what I mean, nobody wins with that kind of stuff. And so there's ways that you can advocate for what you want, you know, without irritating another group and then having it, you know. Somebody told me we went and they were gonna put on a little league field. Well, you know what? You're never gonna win against little league. You know, or you don't wanna fight against little league. You know, you wanna say, yeah, you guys need space to, you know what I'm saying? Those are the kinds of things that, you know, and again, I think that you can't buy that knowledge. You really have to go out and see those, and it is fun. You know, we can pile into the van and set up a date, invite people along, and the centers love to give tours. It's true.
So would Sarah do that?
Yes, come through me for that. Yep. To
'Cause you know the
schedule it.
van schedule and all of that. And
right.
we have members who still work, so.
Well, the other nice thing about the virtual world is you can actually carry those people with you, and you can they love it when you take pictures and videos, and you can share that as well. Because that's what we've done in the past, is we've taken lots of pictures. Because then you can take the parts you like from the different places and display them. You know, particularly if you're doing a presentation to either a designer or the council, you can say, you know, this is what they had here, you know, flexible space and accessibility, and, you know, it's funny, we didn't call it back then, but we did gender neutral restrooms on either end of the building in Glasbury, didn't call them that. We just knew that not everybody can go into a stall type bathroom. You know, whether it's a husband assisting a wife in a wheelchair, or, you know, grandmother who has her young
Grandson,
child, you know what I mean? So, or I can't walk from one end of the building to the other, I needed access to a restroom across the hall. So we had done that, and that advice we got somewhere, and it was before gender neutral bathrooms, or even family bathrooms were a big thing. So I think it gets people excited, you know.
And then what we did as a group is after each trip, we compiled our notes. So then we had a working document, which I probably could still find, but again, I think 5 years ago
Right.
was different.
Different,
So we kind of need to just start the process again, but it was very valuable. So if you're on board and you want me to start reaching out and looking at dates,
It was suggested and we have it under new business.
all right. Sounds good.
I think we've kind of discussed it pretty well, we'll just skip ahead for a minute and then come back. What are your feelings in terms of touring some senior centers?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The sooner the better.
David and Nancy?
Nancy's again.
Right.
And
I
I know.
have, I have a friend who runs the East Hartford Senior Center, and it's brand new if you wanted to go there.
Yeah, they just- And that was years in the making, wasn't it? And lots of political ups and downs. Yep.
Huh.
Are there any on your minds that are like, you want to see first, or any that stick out?
Well, Romantic is new.
Yeah.
We could go to Romantic.
Yeah, yeah. they
I
just
would
finished it.
definitely recommend Groton.
Right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, yeah. Right.
And Duxbury is still, I think, for this community is not it's a little bit longer of a trip, but it's a great center.
Duxbury, Mass.
Duxbury, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, that
I
was,
definitely recommend you go. And it would be interesting to hear them talk about whether it's still working, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's 5 years older.
Right, right.
So,
Any other suggestions about where to go? What senior centers to look at?
like I said, Enfield
Nancy
is a
or-
good model as well.
You want to do the old school? Do you want to do the Berlin to see what it looks like in a school type building?
in the
Newington is an
school,
old school as well.
Newington is also?
Yeah.
Newington is an old
yes.
school,
yes,
so.
with the school model.
Alright, I'll start working on that. I will not, pick any days or anything. What I'll do is probably go through you, John, send some day and time options. And we'll go from there in a few days.
Not that it's any guarantee, but Mondays, the group is pretty available,
Oh, we
At
can just do
least
it during
once
this
a-
time? You would be, yeah, okay,
just as
I'll
a
look at that.
thing to start.
The other person we may want to reach out to is Colchester. So Colchester has just gone through the process of trying to gain public support and advocate, and it did pass. So they are in the middle of the new building project. She is lovely. I've met her a couple times. There's a very active senior group heading up that effort. So they may be willing to pop into a meeting by
I
a
was
Zoom
gonna say, I don't
and
think I go see that
answer some
center.
questions. No, there's nothing to see yet. But they would probably
There
be
is,
very
but it's
willing to
not-
come and answer questions and talk about the process of building
Yeah.
community involvement and support.
I'd like to have somebody invited to the meeting who has been through specifically the process of advocating. Because with UConn here, that's gonna be a major.
Well, I've been through it, so. I've been majorly through it, but yeah, there's a number of people. And actually, there's some people nationally that it's, now that you have Zoom, that might be willing to come in, that may be in another area of the country, that have gone through some of that. It took many years in Glastonbury, that's all I can say. And the argument was very different. Big thing was, do you do a community center or standalone? And parties took opposite sides on that. And it was horrid. So I went through 8 RFPs, architectural firm RFPs, and I went through, and I wasn't the first. The person before me had done one as well. And we did 5 designs before they actually passed the building. And it was all political mistakes, because nobody argued that they didn't need a new senior center. It was about going up against a school project, political party issues, people camping in on it had to be a standalone senior center. And what they ended up with is with a senior center with community use. So, which is, a model that's basically a senior center, but you make the building flexible enough so other people can use it, after hours.
And that's what we do here.
Right.
Because we have groups coming in, so.
But people don't
Slightly
realize that.
Different
Yeah,
model
we'll have
because
to-
they will host weddings.
Right.
And there is a significant amount of income that comes through that program for that center.
Yes.
But that is a different animal.
Right. You have to think
Renting that
about-
building out.
And then you have to think about liability, what
Correct.
happens if someone
And
falls.
alcohol use,
Yeah.
policies.
Caterers,
and-
licensed kitchen.
But what I will say to you is when you rent it out, they keep your building really nice. They keep, just like a hotel or you know what I mean? Like, they know that they have to keep it in order to generate that revenue. They have to keep it really, really nice. And it never bumps senior programs. So, but, if you have to do it, which we are going to have to do, you just do it the right way, which they also did it the right way, so it generates a lot of income.
From all the towns being tossed around, it sounds like we're considering more than one trip.
Definitely,
Oh,
definitely. I'm thinking at least
yeah.
3 days, if not, and on one of them, if we could do Groton and Wallingford together, I'll try to coordinate that.
Right.
So I'm gonna, but I think probably 2 or 3 at least.
Okay,
Right, and
just clarify.
I was gonna say, 2 is probably the maximum you can do, like one before lunch and one after, because if you do more than that, they start blending in.
Blending in.
when you
Yeah.
think
Right.
about it. So,
All
2
the
is
more
good.
reason for pictures.
And Duxbury, you could see Plymouth, but that's a long bus ride and then to
Yes.
center, so I would recommend just going to Duxbury. So, but it's one of the centers that I said, when the architect said, where would you, because the architect said to me, where would you send people when he walked through, and Duxbury was one, so just let them walk. And then I said, go look at Groton. They did the original Groton Center, not the way it is now. I said, if you haven't seen it since they renovated it, go and see it, because it is very different than it was when you designed it. And they were one of the first brand new standalone senior centers in the state. So they've been around for a long time before they actually renovated it. to what it is now. And it's pretty amazing.
And you mentioned Plymouth, is that?
Plymouth is up in Massachusetts as
Right.
well. It's a nice center. But they made some architectural mistakes, I would say, that are, when you see their lobby area, I'm like, why would you? Their overall director, department head is the head of the library. And when I found out that, I'm like, oh, I understand why you created the lobby area like this. I could walk in and I'm like, what a waste of space. That's a lot of room. But it is nice because it's located on the same property as a school, a high school, and they have a lot of synergetic programs there because of that. So it's, it's nice, but it's not what I would think they would build here. That's what I would say, so, but it has a value to see it. Also, the director that was available to design for that isn't there anymore, she retired. You could go see Glastonbury again.
Yeah.
You could.
Okay, we have one more meeting in the regular season. Yep, come back to that in just a second. So
Yeah, no, we're off.
we're off generally for July and August. So we want to kind of time what gets done so we get something done. Or admit that maybe we could meet in July or August. The reason we don't is schedules become really tough.
Yes.
It was suggested that we have somebody from Colchester come here to present,
Or zoom in.
or Zoom.
Yeah.
But that thought was as part of a regular meeting, which was our next meeting.
Well, and that may be a step we want to take either after we kind of gather some info, so fall may work out well for that. If we spend a month or two going around gathering our questions, then we get back together in the fall, I could reach out to her and say, hey, we'd love to pick your brain, would you mind popping in, we could give her some time in a meeting. But I think fall would be early enough for that.
And your person from Enfield would be a good person to talk about that too, because there were, that had its own political challenges. So
So from Dave, we could get that.
maybe Dave could get that.
It was,
Dave,
I got it.
Dave,
It was.
Hello, Dave.
That was Christine Bean, who was there for a long, long time.
Yeah, it was,
so for fall.
years,
Well, that's right, and it's embarrassed.
Okay, so
Well, that'll be in the minutes for Dave.
that's, can you get together with Sarah about touring? Did you say it was a Hartford?
Enfield.
Enfield. Senior
East
Center.
Hartford.
No, East.
Oh, East Hartford?
He's
East
East
Hartford.
Hartford. He's
Oh.
East Hartford.
So if you two could get together, make that happen. Okay, got our new business covered.
All right.
All right.
So let's get back to the old business. Do you see enough consensus in the committee to go ahead and agree on a letter to send out?
Yes.
Yes,
I would like to see what I would like to see added to this letter is that we emphasize to them that we are extremely interested in meeting with them or working with them to to come up with ideas or anything else, if they need input from us or someone, something to that effect.
we should definitely be involved in the process.
But the other thing you can say to them is that you're planning to go look at centers, and if is there any interest in going as well? We can get them the dates and they can be part of those tours. or that you'd be happy to present your fund or whatever.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for me, the other thing I would like in the letter is something about senior housing. I don't want that to just, 20 units of senior housing
yes.
is not enough.
Okay.
It's
Now, let's not lose that.
So I would
Well,
like that to be in the planning stage.
And it doesn't, that's, I would say that is also one of your concerns, is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same as the senior center, but you want to see senior housing.
Right.
That's another part of.
I would prefer age. That's,
Age-
Age
restricted
yeah,
housing.
What is it called?
Age restricted
Age,
housing.
yeah, not
Yeah,
senior
thank you.
housing.
Thank you,
No,
right,
but they
right.
consider this across the street senior
And
housing.
I would really say more along the line, as I think I said, if you say affordable, affordable is not
No.
necessarily affordable.
No.
It's not low income housing at all. It's not really fixed income housing. Affordable because of the overall income rate of the city, because they look at the overall income rate and they also look at the overall rentals. And so affordable is not what many seniors who are on a very fixed income or have lost some income think of as what they could afford. And they have base rents, and if your formulary, even if it's less expensive, if your formulary doesn't fit in, they can say you make too little money, even if it's less than you pay somewhere else. You know, so people have gotten caught in that, where they make too little money to go get into affordable housing. So, and I don't think that's what you're looking at all.
Affordable is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, there's actually a
There's a
formula that HUD has. So, and that's the problem with that. So I think you're looking at something more along the lines of what Juniper Hill has and having, correct?
Yeah.
Isn't that what I'm thinking?
Yeah,
You're thinking of more housing similar to Juniper Hill.
Okay. How much are we restricted in terms of freedom of information? They really frown on us doing business by email.
Correct. So
So
if you
that-
have more people, if people respond to the whole group via email, it's, you're having a meeting. So if it's a quorum that's part of that and they're responding back and forth, that's considered a meeting and that's a no-no.
But then we would have to announce it and post it and do all that stuff.
I just don't think you can do that. That's what I'm saying. You can't be working on work via email as a commission.
So my goal is to
Work on this.
get this
Right.
edited.
So what you can do is you can send it out and say, if this is what we're talking about, if you have any comments, please let me know personally. So in other words, don't reply all, because then you're meeting see what I'm saying? If you have
Yes.
one person that's doing it, they send it out and say, please reply individually. If you have any, or give me a call, or however you want to do that.
Yeah, just don't reply. to
Don't
everybody.
reply all to
Yeah.
everything, because that's when you get into that FOI thing.
Okay, so send- okay.
Does that make sense? Because that's really,
Yeah, but what I'm trying to deliberate is, I would be willing to do that or have anybody else do that. But what do you do when you have some conflict? Will says, I think senior housing should be the top point of the letter, and
well, if you have conflict, you leave that part out and tell people to do that individually. You only put in the letter what you have consensus from, or at least the majority. And you encourage people, if they feel strongly in an opposite way, because there's nothing wrong with you all each individually sending something as well. So what you can send as a commission is what you all agree on. And you can bring that letter back, you have enough time to the next meeting and say, finalize it and vote it in. And then again, encourage people if they have individual issues that they feel passionately about, that they can either go to the council or do as an individual, or,
Richard indicated that they had envisioned getting their final report in for July.
right, but that's this preliminary report. It's overall big picture. That's why I was surprised to even put any pictures of little things in it. So you're really giving input onto the whole process and then moving into the next phase. So, which again is part of this budget, is that next phase of that building plan. So you know what I mean? So his final report is gonna be pretty much what you saw. And then it's just a report
Right.
of
and
what
then this
their
all starts.
preliminary investigation. But what you're doing is giving input into what's going
Big
on
picture.
beyond,
Right. Okay.
beyond the next. You want to make sure that you say commission should be absolutely included,
Yep, absolutely.
you know, as well as other senior advocacy groups. And that you're looking forward to working toward this.
Are there architectural firms who kind of specialize in senior centers?
So they're national, there's a couple of national. And they should send that, you know, if they do a prospectus, but the truth of the matter is, I really think that most, if they've done any, and especially if they've done community workshops where they get the input and you retain control of the design, are gonna do fine. Like this firm has done senior center design. Most of the firms have. Some of them have done it better than others. You know, the important thing will be the process, and that will be lots of community input. Would be what I would say. And again, like I said, you know, you don't want someone who's just gonna try to design so that they're in architectural digests for their design. You want it to be practical. I mean, I can't tell you the arguments I've had with architects in the past about wanting cathedral ceiling, and I'm saying, you know, like, you know, with big, and I'm saying, but we have to be able to divide it. You know, that doesn't work for, I get that it's beautiful, but we need to be able, it doesn't work for our function.
And then your heat bills go up because all the heat goes to the ceiling.
Correct, or they want to put this type of woodwork in, but it doesn't absorb sound and you get echoes, or, you know, so that's the stuff that you have to, you know, and you're gonna hear a lot of that stuff when you go visiting, you know, that's what I would say. You know, you want to make sure there's a covered portico, so people can be dropped off and not get rained on, or we don't have ice issues like we have here sometimes, even if they come and do everything. You know what I mean? There's a number of things that you want, and it needs to be high enough, so buses don't, or vans don't get caught on it, like some centers have put it in. I don't know, high buses don't go under the door. So, you know, I mean, there's a number of things that you're gonna wanna have an architectural firm that will work with you on. You don't necessarily need to have these, and there are places, for example, there's somebody who designed a lot of the ones around the DC area. One firm that's very well known has done it. And I can give that information, you know, to them, but I'm not sure they would respond, you know, to a small, you know, suburban rural community in this area. They tended to work with regional areas where they come and do 5 centers, you know what I'm saying?
And it sounds like the town manager was saying that he was confident that TSKP would, if they didn't know something, and I'm sure they all know it, that they would be amenable down to looking at what we want. So
They do like pretty things, though, I will say that. Just so you know,
that's,
they're the ones who designed the wave wall in
Rotten? Oh, wow.
maybe because there's
Cause
water,
problems.
maybe because there's water in Groton, that's why they did a wave wall, you know, to see the ocean.
Yeah, that's why, but you know, they have problems with the ceiling leaking because of that, and they also have problems with people who have perceptual issues.
Yeah, thank you. I believe so.
Vision issues.
Yeah.
So, but it was beautiful, it was featured in an architectural you know,
Wonderful.
but, and I'm not dissing that, it's just you have to have strong advocates that said, that's nice, but you know what?
We don't
We don't
need
want
it.
it here.
We don't want it.
You know, anything that's too custom, we come from.
Yeah.
Like last year, it's the cupolas that are way up, it's like,
I
who goes up
remember.
there, who goes up there and dusts? Like,
And a
whose
balloon
idea?
got stuck up there for like a year or something, because there's nobody.
I mean,
Remember when we went,
because one person
and it's beautiful.
decided that they wanted that
it was
cupola to
right
be
on the
open.
back of the building, but.
So, no, the truth of the matter is it's going to be there, but there wasn't gonna be open. So it's got acoustic issues, it's got heating issues and cleaning issues, because who's gonna go up that high to do it? So, you know, there's that kind of stuff that you just need.
This whole building committee that has worked with TSCP may have some good input on the process as well, or.
And they may not be the one that gets the project.
Right, that's the other thing the town manager said, they might
Oh,
not.
they
get
have,
the
you
project.
know, it's a bidding.
Yeah.
Situation. Their big thing is the sustainability issue, and they have done wonderful things with, zero carbon footprint buildings.
And we would like that.
And that probably, and they work with the town, so they know,
So
you know, they
is
know
this-
the town.
Is this premature to them? Because
No,
they might-
I think,
because they
no,
might
we're gonna
not-
because I
send
wouldn't
a-
write it to them, I write it to the council.
We are.
That's what I would say. It's not premature.
Individual council members would decide.
Yeah,
How can we decide to write it to individual council members?
absolutely.
To the town manager and to T, that's.
What I would do is I would send one to the town council as a whole, so it goes
For the
into
packet.
minutes. I would send one to each individual council member with their email and one to Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, that way it gets into the minutes because it's a letter, it's to the town council.
And you guys are an advisement to the town.
Right.
So,
So this necessarily doesn't have to go to TSKP. Yeah, because we don't know if they're gonna be involved in the next phase, okay.
they're not- or they may be involved in the next page, but they won't be involved, in- there's 3 phases to this.
Right.
So, and that'll be the architect that gets the final.
So what I'm hearing is, it really is already too late to influence the report that was given to the town council,
Yeah, they're pulling together
in
now.
spite of all their verbiage about they want feedback, et cetera.
I think they wanted feedback from the council.
Yeah, you're not the council, so.
Yeah,
So if I were to try and do yet another draft of this, and add something about age-restricted housing and the strong desirability of having COA have input. Can I then send that out to the commission and ask for additional input?
which you can send it out, like, kind of like you did today, you can send it out and you can say, we're gonna make a decision at our next meeting in June.
Okay, so we have to do it at the next meeting.
Right, or you can say, you guys could vote it in and based on changes, if you read them out now and put it in. I
I think
think
we
we
should-
should do that.
Yeah, I think we should, well, okay, my opinion, what we could all talk about is to get our changes sent to John individually, and then get it together to present in June.
You mean individual, after John revises it and sends out if we have anything
Yes,
extra that we want
Yeah.
to put in to get it to John
Right, yeah.
first. Okay, fine. Okay, that'll work.
I think it's a really good start, John.
Oh, yeah,
Really
John,
good
good
written.
start,
really good
Well
And
done.
sometimes it's helpful to have something to throw darts at. and-
Yes. No, darts. It's
And
good,
it's
John. It's good, thank you.
You might even want to thank the council for taking it to this point where you're actually talking about design. You know, Thank you for being
That'd
proactive
be a
and
good thing.
looking.
Thank the council.
This is
for
a
the-
long
for the-
time coming. We can say, thank you so much for moving in this direction.
And, we could always have a special meeting if we have to.
Right.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with calling a special meeting in July or whatever. If we have to finalize this.
As long as we can get a forum.
Yeah,
we can do it.
yeah,
Good idea.
Okay, so we got all kinds of options. here.
I kind of like getting it off our plate for June.
What's that?
I kind of like getting it off our plate for June and getting
Oh, I
it into
agree,
their
I
package.
agree, but I
And
mean, if
doing
something
some
should
of the
happen where we would
Yeah,
have
for
to
the
go,
trips, yeah, and then we
you
do the
know.
trips and then we can get another letter out.
yeah.
You could put together a snazzy presentation if you take pictures of different places, sure. I mean, I thought the
PowerPoint.
last time I
You can
did
do a
it, that's what I was
PowerPoint.
gonna say, last time I did it, we had to do it with like poster board. How long ago it was when I did it last time.
PowerPoint.
It was so funny when I was leaving there, that when they finally built the building, when we were moving out of the offices, Bill McGaw, the chair of the commission, came to me and said, I got poster boards, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, do not bring them here. You're right, I have architectural plans for every design in my closet, I'm not taking them with me. I have every piece of data you guys put together, I have, and back then most of it was paper or I'm like, I'm not taking those to your poster board, you make your decision what you're gonna do with those.
I think you should create a Pat Snyder library archive.
I recommended it was a Bill McGaw, because he started that process before, and they were starting, and my joke was,
He was the Will
Keep in
Beagle
mind-
of Glastonbury.
keep in mind, I worked there between the two times I was there for 20 years. And when they interviewed me, the town manager said to me, you're going to be working on designing a new center. I thought that was a time limited thing. I didn't realize I was gonna be working on designing a new center my whole career there. So, and it was my senior services director position, it was all, by the time I came back, was by the time I left for a year and then came back, was when the building actually was being built. So I left, right around when the referendum was going to happen, and I came back in my role as human service director. So, I mean, that was a huge part of my career, and then opening the building, and the building policies and all of that. So that was pretty much not just a time limited thing, but a thing I did for years and years and years. Because sometimes these projects, I mean, when did you guys start working on it, Bill? It was before me.
Yeah, it was, way
So,
before you do.
Yeah. So
I've
this
been
has
at
been
this-
going on, I was
I've
gonna
been at
say.
this for a long time.
This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I always say, there are people who work really hard on it, like Betty,
Yeah.
Betty
Yeah.
Jane,
Yeah.
who never ended up seeing it, but the work that they put into it was for the next generation of seniors and the generations after that. So you have to be willing to,
And that's what we're doing.
right, exactly.
Well, what I did is I gave John a thing that I had tremendous. All right, of everything, I said,
And you
here,
can go in that same museum.
no, it says,
Yes.
you know what it says, new senior center, here you go, John.
It'll be the Will Beagle, it'll be the Will Beagle, wing of
And a
Bill
table.
McGaw.
No,
I like it.
But it's, it shows you that advocates, work, over a long period of time, that's what happens.
And with that, I'll need to turn to the motion to adjourn.
So-
Second.
Oh, wait, I don't know whether it's old or new business or whether it's still be just nitpicking again. But going forward, should we change the name of Jensen's Park to Sun Community since Jensen hasn't been the owner for a couple of years
Yes.
now?
Well, that was just a reference, it's just,
Right,
it's,
so
it's,
it's
that's not the
official.
name of it, it's just a reference because
Right, but
everybody,
it says
Sylvia,
Rolling Hills.
everybody knows it as Jensen's. Okay,
Okay,
nobody knows it as Rolling Hills. Rolling Hills is just coming in, so this way here. This is, well, who's Rolling Hills? What's Rolling Hills? They know that it's the Jensen
Okay,
spot. That's why
fine.
he put it in parentheses,
okay,
okay?
fine.
And they're going by
One more.
Rolling Hills, not Sun Communities.
Right,
Right.
right,
Sun owns it, but it's
right.
still Rolling
It's
Hills.
still Rolling Hills. That's what
Right.
it is.
And one more thing before we adjourn, the senior Sparks,
Yeah.
we have to correct who the committee members are. Because Bev Corba is still on there and we don't have all of the new people.
Notice that either.
Yeah, me either.
I really thoroughly read it. I mean, sometimes I say no, but I really thoroughly read it this time. It's like,
You
oh,
mean,
yeah.
you mean getting a date not on it?
John, would you
Who's
mind
interested?
sending me an updated list so that I make sure I get it right?
I'll do that. I'll do
Or
that.
might be somebody.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
We did,
Yes, we do.
yeah, you just didn't hear it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything's fine, yeah, oh, yeah, we're all set, just adjourn the meeting.
Our wonderful official.
Did we hear a second?
Bye, everybody.